So this is one of my favorite clips of the past year. Fox is going to do their normal fear-mongering over cancel culture, which is, just a day that ends in Y on Fox. But one of the hosts, Bill Hemmer, accidentally gives us one of the funniest lines of all time.
These people are always going to be important to this country. So you have to wonder, are we in a transition period in our country right now where our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren might not think of these people the way we do? They might not be taught in the same way we know them now. I say more statues, not less, not fewer. More opinions, more ideas, not less.
Way back in the day, when I was first working in local news, I was at a CBS affiliate in Springfield, Illinois, and Lincoln was everything, a part of every aspect of the city. And in fact, there was even, I think, a sandwich named after Abraham Lincoln. I hope they don't take the sandwich name away.
I tell you, if they start canceling these American presidents, they're going to come after Bible characters next.
Yeah, you could.
Mark my words.
Yep,
Wow.
Yep.
Right?
These guys are something special. Imagine bringing that up as if it's like, as if you're making a good point. Like, next thing you know, they're going to start criticizing Bible characters. Yeah, if there's anything that's ripe for criticism, it's like holy books. I mean, there's so much carnage and savagery and barbaric actions in the Bible. I mean, rape, everything, you name it. You name it. Genocide, rape, pure evil acts. Everything is in there. And so if you're going to criticize characters in the Bible, it's like, that should be the most obvious thing in the world. That should be, like, encouraged. What do you want people to do? Read stories of, like, rape and murder and pillaging and just turn their critical mind off and just sort of absorb it and think, this is great, bro? I mean, it's just, like, they're so childish. This is like preschoolers kind of thinking. Mommy and Daddy said Bible's pure truth. And so you can't criticize pure truth because then you're going to go to hell and not heaven. Okay, Bill Hemmer. Okay, man. Okay. Even the idea of like, they're canceling presidents now. Next, they're going to cancel people in the Bible. As if there's like nothing to actually go through the record of former presidents about. Like, I mean, guys, listen, there's a lot of good in this country and that this country has done. I'm not painting the everything is negative picture because I think that's bullshit. I think that's not correct. But these guys want to overlook all of the negative shit. Are they going to have an honest conversation about the Trail of Tears, the Native American genocide, Jim Crow, slavery, indentured servitude? I mean, this is part of our history. And in the same way that nobody should downplay or deny the positive aspects, nobody should downplay or deny the negative aspects. And so, yeah, I encourage open and honest conversations about the history of our presidents. Why wouldn't you do that? The only reason you wouldn't want to do that is because you're a propagandist and you want to enforce the notion of American exceptionalism and superiority. That's the thing. They're American supremacists, these people. Now, by the way, the conversation started with them about statues and how now there's going to be a review of various statues. I think in Chicago, I don't know all the details of it, but on the list of like the statues that are under review include like Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant. And now they're not saying we're going to pull those down. They didn't say that. They said we're going to review all these statues. Okay. They're acting like they're going to pull them down, number one. That's not necessarily true. In fact, I bet that they're not going to do that. But they're acting like it's outrageous to even have the conversation. And funny enough, I think that's the cancel culture aspect of this. Is like, we're not even allowed to have the conversation about, what are the utility of statues? Does it make sense to, build mythologies that override the true nature of a person that we then shut our minds off and try to worship said characters? Now, listen, again, I think there's a wide range of opinions on this that are possible, but also a wide range of opinions that are reasonable on this front. And yeah, I'm amazed that anybody acts like there isn't an interesting conversation to be had here, because I think there's a very interesting conversation to be had. I don't even know exactly where I land, but off the top of my head, like my gut instinct says, I'm fine with statues existing, but we should actually try to build the statues of the people that are the closest possible to beyond reproach. You know what I mean? Martin Luther King, for example. Maybe we should have more statues of Martin Luther King. We should have statues to Jonas Salk, who created the polio vaccine and then gave it out and said, I'm not patenting this. Would you patent the sun? So saved so many lives as a result of that. And the list goes on and on. So, like, there are characters who are overall the net impact was way more positive than negative. I think if we're going to have statues, those should be the statues. And I think that there is a reasonable discussion to be had about the deification of characters that were overwhelmingly negative, like Andrew Jackson, Like, should he really be on the $20 bill? I mean, if you're really looking at it objectively, and he did have a net negative impact, no, he probably shouldn't. Now, is that at the top of my list of things to do? Well, no, but that's only because I don't really value symbolism as much as some other people do. So, and that's just me and my bias and my opinion and my priorities on it. But but these are still interesting conversations to have. And funny enough, the response on Fox is always the same. That, like, shut up and keep everything exactly as it is. Well, that's not intelligent. That's not intellectual. And again, I could argue you're doing cancel culture there because what you're saying is shut down the whole conversation. I don't even want to have the conversation. So that's kind of silly, isn't it? But yes, if I'm being honest, I would say, yeah, probably most of the characters in the Bible should be criticized, should be critiqued, and it would be honest to do such things given what happens in the Bible. Most of the presidents should be critiqued, and viciously so, because there hasn't been many good ones, if I'm being honest with you, where their net effect was more positive than negative. So I encourage all that, and I encourage the conversation about statues and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and, I even see the opinion of, like, just don't build statues to people anymore. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'd have to be talked into it and convinced on that front, but it's not crazy. But these people make it seem like, oh, it's crazy. Just because you're all, like, they're used to the myth-making, and the propaganda that we've been spoon-fed from when we were kids about our country and our leaders and all that stuff, and they want to cling to it in the same way that, like, a toddler clings to the Tooth Fairy existing or Santa Claus existing. You know what I mean? Like, that's the sense I get when I listen to them talk about it. But it became extra funny when he really brought up the Bible characters being canceled. If there were ever characters to cancel, like, they're kind of close to the top of the list given what's in that book.